Okay, so this is the start of our podcast, that we've in order to reflect on our experiences during medical school, kindly presented by Raymond, Raymond, would you like to
It's
introduce
your boy. Today
topics?
we've got Manus on our side and we've also got Stephen here, and the person who introduced beforehand was Brendan, so that's us four. Welcome to this Misfits podcast. The reason we're starting this off is because I feel like our friend group talks a lot, and what's a better way to reflect than to discuss our experiences together in medical school as a group?
Yeah.
So true. I agree, Raymond. This is a great idea, especially because we can put it in our learning and professional development later on.
Yeah.
Okay, let's segue to our first topic of the evening. Let's talk about semester one. What are you guys' thoughts and feelings about this? Does anyone want to start?
Let's give it up to Stephen at first.
Yeah,
It
true.
was pretty long, man. Semester one. Wow. I mean, actually, honestly, it feels like it's gone by in a flash. Like,
Paradoxical.
yeah. I'm like, man, I still remember when I was like on top of things. Now, it's all gone downhill.
To be fair, I don't think I was ever on top of things. It's already been, think about it, it's already been 1/8 of our MD journey.
Don't say
Oh.
that.
Oh
and I
my
feel
gosh.
like I have not changed one bit.
I mean, to be honest,
That's what I wrote on my
That's what-
reflection. Yeah.
that's what everyone feels. It's like, when you left high school,
Yeah.
and you saw like, no, even now, when you see like first years from uni, you're like, wow, they're so like young, right? But then you're like, oh, but I haven't changed.
Exactly.
So, in reality, the changes, people can only see, like, the people who see your changes are the people who don't meet you often. Because then they see you change over time, but you look at yourself in the mirror every day,
True.
That is very true, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like when I started undergrad, so 3 years ago, that was during COVID, and I was a completely different person at the time. I usually stayed inside the house, stayed inside my room, didn't really attend lectures, and I was just playing video games. But starting this year and the year before that, I've been trying to change myself by going outside more, like interacting with others, and eventually meeting your fellow hosts today. So that's why we're doing this.
Yeah, that's right. As in, you've been doing so much interacting, getting us to do this podcast with you.
Okay, well, do you guys have any memorable moments during this first semester? Like any highlights or any big downers? What was your favorite part of the semester?
Well, I think my favorite part of the semester was doing mini CEX practice with you guys, because I was able to work on my skills, get really hands-on and know you guys as people, not just colleagues.
And your veins, I guess.
What?
That's right. And it's just that everyone has such different bodies. No, this is
Okay.
this is legit,
Yeah,
right?
that is
It's
true,
like
actually.
anatomical variation. It's
That
like,
is very true, yes,
it's like,
right.
Finally understand each other's anatomical variation.
Yeah.
It's true. It's like this is what we're gonna be seeing in the real world. It's like each patient's different. We're gonna approach people.
Would you say that you've gotten used to performing in front of your TPO group? So if we were told you to okay, let's do a respiratory examination tomorrow in front of your GP or whatever, would you be confident in doing that, or is that still a nerve-wracking experience?
Well, the way you said that does make me slightly nervous. But I feel like with the practice that I've had since now, I'll feel like comfortable in performing in front of my TPO group. Maybe not in front of if it's like an actual examination for a patient.
Okay.
But if it's just like a practice session, I feel like I've grown close enough with my TPO group that I would be comfortable with doing examinations with them. So I think that's good. It's like things that you might have originally thought were the realm of doctors, right?
Yeah, we're stepping into that now.
Yeah,
right?
performing physical examinations on people, asking people's histories. I feel like even if we think that we haven't changed, me getting more comfortable with that sort of thing is this
Yeah.
aspect to show that maybe I've grown. Maybe. Just maybe.
I think that for these mini CXs, something to note is in my TBL, usually the guys and the girls split off into different groups. So I'm not sure about you guys, how you were talking about the anatomical variation, but I think I haven't actually had the chance to practice any of this respiratory examination or cardiovascular examination as such on girls, for example. So I think I'll need to look for those experiences moving forward.
Yeah, because in my TBL group, like the girl members, they encourage us to sort of at least do some practice, because otherwise it seems a little bit biased to practice as a medical or as like a intern or doctor not having done those type of examinations on female patients, because we presumably be serving or providing subpar patient-centered care. So they really do kind of look out for us, and they've even given me some hints on like for example, how you would do palpations and not look creepy doing it. I think that's a really important thing.
Well, could you give us some of these tips?
Well, like always keep, like one thing that was told to me was to keep your fingers together, because if you're doing this, it's not a good look.
That's true. That's true. So
that was one thing. Yeah.
that's a good. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, there are a few things, but I have to look at my notes. So.
Well, while you
Okay.
do that, actually, something that you were talking about before, Brendan, how we are stepping into the realm of the medical practitioners, is that during the break, I actually went to a Chemist Warehouse.
Oh.
Yeah, and when I went to all of the stock inside, I noticed the analgesics, the anti-inflams, and the what's the other one called again?
Analgesics, anti-inflammatories.
Yeah, anti-pyretics, right? I could actually recognize a lot of the drug names or classes, which was pretty cool, I think.
That's good. See, you have checked. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, but anyway, going back to Manus's point about, I guess your point as well, Raymond, about doing examinations on female patients. I think in our TBL, me and Stephen, like our the girls in our group have been like pretty good with like letting us like examine them, giving us tips as well. Maybe not as in depth as like Manus, but yeah, it's something that I think we will have to get a lot more comfortable with, because even with that practice, I feel like I'm not super comfortable doing it as of yet. But in OSCE, if we get 2 female patients in a row, let's say for example, it might be a little over at the moment.
Yeah. I think that's something we can all look forward to working on, at least.
Yeah.
Do you have any favourite moments that you've had during the first semester, Manus?
Favorite moments?
Yeah.
Of it was particularly the MD course, or
Yeah.
just of the semester as a whole?
How about just the MD course for now?
Getting a 2B. I've only had like 1 or 2 2Bs, but whenever I get them, it's a good feeling, because a lot of the time you don't get them and they're hard, and that's not even the maximum score you can get. The maximum score is like a 5A or something, 5B or something.
Yeah.
But it's impossible for us to get
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
At
it's
this
impossible
point.
to get them. But even getting like that's like another level, and we can't even really. Even a 2B is hard for us.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine the level of, I guess,
Expertise.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
would need to be able to showcase or demonstrate a 5B.
Yeah. The only 2Bs I've been getting are pencils.
Okay, dude. Yeah, some of the. I mean, they can be hard, but some of the docs and things.
Speaking of the DOPS, yesterday didn't we both go to redo our DOPS bunch?
Yes, Raymond. We did both have our DOPS yesterday.
What was your one about again?
My one was about injections.
Gotcha. And how'd you feel going in?
How I felt going in was I felt rusty. I feel like all of these skills atrophy over time. If you
I do
don't
have to agree.
regularly practice. Yeah. And even like my initial like spiel when you're like, introducing the risks and contraindications to the patient, I had completely forgotten that. So then I thought it was pretty good practice, because the thing with like interacting with the patient is that you have to like give you have to give off like an air of like confidence, right? Because then if you're not confident, then the patient's not going to be confident in your care of them.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, it's like if you don't have that like fluency, even if you're not like 100% confident, like the patients like they know when you don't, like when you're like unsure or like you're feeling like really nervous, and that can like reflect on them as well. So I think that's something that I always have to work on, you know, because then first impressions with the patient are also really important, right?
Yeah.
Like if you flub that first impression, they might not ever see you again.
I think that with the mini CXs and DOPs, I feel like there isn't too many opportunities for us to continuously practice these skills over the year and consolidate them in our memory. Because with these DOPs, maybe you have 3 weeks or 4 weeks leading up of the content being online, and then you do the DOPs and you're done. There isn't too many opportunities outside of that to specifically go into the hospital and practice these skills.
Did they have DOPS last year?
I believe they did.
Yeah,
They did.
I think so. Yeah, I get what you mean with DOPS, because DOPS, like specifically, like mini SIG stuff, I think is gone over like quite regularly, or we have the means to practice it regularly. But for some stuff like DOPS, like life support, for example, I think it's a bit hard, and injections, it's hard for it to practice by ourselves because we don't have that equipment, right? But I guess it is expensive for the uni occasionally to provide that equipment, especially for stuff where we just like discard things like
The injections.
right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of another example, but
I mean, it's a bit weird as well because during our DOPS for the injections, they just told us to dispose the entire needle and even when it's inside it.
Yes,
Because
yes.
there was a risk
Sharp
of like sharp. But before that, they were fine with doing it the appropriate way. It's just that afterwards, when someone got hurt, they were like, okay, we don't even want to take any chances at this point. So like, I do see sort of why the university would be a little more careful with the equipment, but also it kind of comes at a cost because then that might like influence our ability to really exercise those injection methods in the future. Yeah, it's a little bit of a difficult conundrum, but
But I think some of the skills that are like important to know in these DOPs are things that we can practice. Like, because they do go over like remember in life support when we did ISBA and like history taking. I think like those things which like support these DOP skills are what we actually need to know. Because I feel like all of these DOPs, like injections and like vital signs and things like that, they're things that we will eventually like become very good at over time in like hospital and rotations.
Yeah.
Like
Placement, right?
yeah, it's like some things like you only get that continued practice when you're actually like on the job, you know. I mean, so I think in going forward, I think I would want to practice more like of the more menial, maybe like some people might say like boring stuff like taking histories and ISBA, because I feel
Or just
like
clinical communication in general,
clinical
right?
communication.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm not that good at that yet, and that's one of the most important things, right?
I think recognizing you aren't good at something is part of the journey of learning in itself.
Yeah, just like in that feedback thing that we learn, self-judgment, you know? Yeah.
Do you guys have any thoughts about the general lifestyle of a medical student, at least in this first semester? What do you guys think?
Yeah, Stephen, I know that you have a lot of commitments, so how are you juggling all of that as a medical student?
Nah. I mean, I've been trying to make sure I've got enough time for all my hobbies. But in hindsight, maybe I've been too much focused on that and not putting enough time towards stuff like reflection and revision, this type of stuff.
I think now is a good time to sit back and reflect at least on what is going on, because let's face it, next week semester 2 is coming up. There's a lot more coming, so I think this is a good time for us to think about everything that's happened beforehand and take it ahead into our future. For myself, when thinking about the general experiences as a whole, I am pretty grateful to meet so many people from a wide variety of backgrounds, because there's a lot of international students, such as people from Canada or the Oshner program.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they take their experiences from the workplace or the laboratory, and I can talk to them about how does this process work. For example, in my TBL group, there's a guy from the Gold Coast, actually. So not even international, but he works in the laboratory and he deals with hematology and was able to explain to me the concepts behind the hematological diseases, for example. Another thing that is aside from just learning with my peers is that they just have different cultures because of where they've been raised. For example, one day, the same TVL member, he actually walked in wearing jeans. What's it called? The material?
Denim?
Yeah, he wore denim jeans and a denim jacket. And then they called it a Canadian suit, which I found was pretty funny.
Canadian suit.
I believe that is the term. I'll just check for a moment.
That's messed up.
It's a Canadian suit, so
Canadian suit.
it's like full blue of different shades, and I thought that was pretty funny.
Done. That's true.
Like, if I was to remain learning with people from the same culture, I wouldn't have such a well-rounded experience. And in the future, when we go to medical practice, we're not going to be dealing just with people in one area. We'll be dealing with people who may have different cultural experiences or maybe different socio-economical status, for example.
That's true. Yeah. I guess like getting life experience is important for me, doctor, you know, because yeah, like you said, there's all sorts of people that we're going to be meeting, and regardless of who they are, we have to be prepared to give them care, right?
Yeah.
And to do that, we have to like understand them at some level, right? And get to know them. And if we know nothing, then it's a bit hard, right? It's like you go and then you're like completely clueless about someone's like culture, or not willing to learn, or about their situation.
I guess that's where the cultural competency comes into play.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Having some, at least a little bit of understanding of various cultures and backgrounds so that you can properly cater for them, prevent exercising certain taboos which might cause some distrust and deteriorate the doctor-patient relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to develop trust and rapport so you know, so the patient's willing to talk to you and willing to explain their concerns so you can act upon them as a medical team. So yeah, that's definitely something that's to be taken into consideration.
Yeah. Oh, and even more than knowledge, I would also say like it's kind of like a mindset, right? Because then, you're not gonna know everything. Like, there's no way you're gonna know someone's culture better than them, unless you're also from their culture. And you're not gonna be able to like understand, like, you know, like everything about them or like know everything, right?
Yeah.
But then having that mindset of being willing to learn, like open to understanding them, I think that's like the most important thing.
Yeah, and that happens to just be a theme in like what the UQ's medical MD model, dynamic learner and educator.
So true. And a safe and effective clinician.
Exactly.
Yes.
See, it all comes full circle.
That makes so much sense.
Wow, I'm really learning how the project themes really feed into our learning, just like that. At the beginning of the semester, I didn't actually know why we were learning these themes, but now I've come to a greater understanding, and I can now incorporate them into my learning and professional development, just like in the temple.
That's great. Do you guys have any other things you want to talk about today?
No, I think that's pretty good.
No? Okay. Well, we'll end it for there. Thanks for listening.